Good morning, church. Good to be with you today. And today we are entering our last book of the Old Testament as we read through over the next month, the book of Job. And Job is the source of much encouragement for some and controversy and even some angst, especially in these first two chapters when we're looking at the setup for the rest of the narrative that happens through Job. One of the first questions that we look at answering is Job a historical person? Did he really live? Did his friends really come and talk to him? And if he did live, when did he live? Well, we would make an argument that Job was truly a historical person, that the events that are recorded here, even though they take the form of poetry, can come in also a history type book. And that is because Ezekiel mentions Job. Remember in Ezekiel 14, God says through the prophet, even if Noah, Daniel, and Job still lived, only they would be saved through their own righteousness, talking about the nation of Israel. And then James, in chapter 5 of his book, says that he is an imitator, or we should be an imitator of Job's patient endurance, and to see God's mercy as he brings about a compassionate end. And I don't think that James would pick an imaginary literature to use as a source of encouragement in his very practical book. It just wouldn't really make sense. So I think we have some arguments that we can make for the historicalness, the historicity of Job. But what about the theology of Job? This is where we feel challenged. We talked about the when. Job would have been probably about the time of Abraham. We think that this is one of the earliest books of the Bible that was written, one of the first wisdom literatures that was coming around. And so we have an ancient book with an ancient man, and yet the lessons that we can glean from it are contemporary and modern and still inform our understanding of who God is. So we have Satan coming into the presence of God along with the sons of God, which gives us a connection point back to Genesis, where the sons of God were intermarrying the women and having children with them. Here, the sons of God are clearly angels. And so all the way here, we can have a touch point back and say in Genesis, was it some kind of spiritual beings that were intermarrying and creating that race of giants and powerful men, those heroes of old? And along with them comes Satan, the adversary. One of the few times Satan is mentioned as a name in the Old Testament, the other time being when David is incited by Satan to take the census. And here he is accusing Job, because that's Satan's job. That's what that name means, is the accuser. And so here he is accusing both God and Job, saying, look, Job only loves you because you've given him so much. Take everything away and see how he goes. And so he walks through two tests. And we look at that, and perhaps not yours doesn't, but my jaw just drops, because God responds to the provocation of Satan, and he allows Satan to go and to test Job. A couple things we take away from here. Number one, even the accuser is a tool of God. Everything is under God's authority, because he says to Satan, here's the limit. Satan doesn't have free reign, and he has to get God's permission. So God is the final, the ultimate, and the perfect authority. And then we see that God does allow times of testing to come into our lives. He does not choose to keep us perfectly physically safe, but he did trust that he knew Job's character, and he knew that Job would pass this test. And so he allows him to go through it. And so when we're going through stuff, we just have to trust and hold steady and understand that God will keep us through to the other side. And here's the right response. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will leave this life. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Through all this, Job did not sin or blame God for anything. Though his wife, after his physical affliction comes, says, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." "You speak as a foolish woman," he told her. "Should we accept only good from God and not adversity?" Through all this, Job did not sin in what he said. And this sets up the dialogue for the rest of the book. Encouragement, don't sin. Trust God. Walk through the adversity, clinging to the robe of our Savior, and he will see us through to the other side. That's what James tells us. That's what we believe. Love you, church. We'll talk to you soon again.